Welcome back to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And this morning, I want to talk about the free agent offensive linemen. So, we're going to talk about the offensive tackles, offensive guards, and centers. To be honest, I don't really know how much the Steelers really going to be in this market. Actually, it's some good guys that um, I could see the Steelers, maybe trying to make a play on. The Steelers actually have some young guys that's coming up that they really need to develop. But it's a couple of guys free agency wise that I wouldn't mind seeing the Steelers go after. Um because it's still some questions. It's still some questions. So with that said, let's jump right into that. So let's see here what we got here. All right, here we go. So this is the offensive tackles. And as you can see, well, let's talk about the Steelers where they stand right now. Um, Dan Moore probably will not be back. Um, the one thing I will say about Dan Moore is, and he catches a lot of flack from people. First of all, he was a third round pick, I want to say. So he was never really in the plans as far as starting right away. They had some injuries, so he had to basically start as a rookie. And to be honest, after that, they never could get him out the lineup. Um, the only thing that I would say about Dan Moore, I don't never see him as being a Pro Bowler or anything like that, but I do see him, me personally, I see him as being a solid left tackle in this league. And the one thing that I would say about Dan Moore is I wish the Steelers had better coaching. And, maybe he'll turn into a Kevin Dotson, go somewhere where he can get some solid coaching, be with a good offensive line coach, and develop a little more. And like I say, I don't really never. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I think Dan Moore can turn into a Pro Bowl left tackle, but I think he can be a solid player in this league, be a little bit more consistent than what he was with the Steelers. Because I'm just gonna be honest with you. Any lineman that's in the Steelers system now, I I give them a mulligan a little bit because I feel like they're not getting good offensive line coaching, and we seen it with Kevin Dotson. And for some reason, the Steelers like playing guys out of position. But these guys, they go like with Kevin Dotson, went somewhere in a good offensive scheme, good offensive line coach, put him in the position that he needs to play in and he's comfortable playing in, and you see what you got. So I think Dan Moore can kind of make that type of move and get with a good offensive coach and and really be a solid player. But with that said, Ronnie Stanley is probably the top guy. Baltimore Ravens. He's kind of up in age right now, and he had a solid year this year, but the last 3 years before that, a lot of injuries. He's gonna be a little expensive, but for his age and his injury history, I wouldn't I I wouldn't touch him. And like I say, really right now, I don't really think the Steelers are really in the market for left tackle. Again, I'm not sold on them, but they're probably going to have to move Roberts Jones over to the left side. And again, to me, if you're running it back with the same coaching that they've been given, I I don't know if this is going to help him or not, but we'll see. Then on the right side, to me, to me, if the Steelers can find a solid right tackle in free agency and also draft one, I could see them doing that and moving Fontano to the guard. And Fontano was the Steelers' #1 pick last year. I just think his feet is so good. I think he could play guard and probably would be a better guard than tackle. But again, you have to see how he comes back from the knee injury. But when we get into the guards, you'll kind of see why I think the Steelers maybe could do if they do anything in the free agency. I think it's going to be at the guard position. But as far as these tackles, I really don't see the Steelers really being in the market for any of these guys. And like I said, unless they felt like they could get any of these guys, pretty fairly cheap, and and decided that we could move Fontuno over to guard. But other than that, I don't really see the Steelers being in the tackle market as far as free agency. All right, now guards. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm the Steelers, I'm going hard at Trey Smith. I mean, don't think they're gonna get him. I think Kansas City is gonna find a way to keep him. But if you can get Trey Smith and throw him in at guard, and and um and Fonatano will stay out right tackle, now you got a nice solid offensive line there. Because the thing the Steelers have to do is definitely get their tackles together, but they need to shore up that middle of the offensive line. And if you can get a Trey Smith and McCormick, if he can keep developing, and you got Frazier there, now you have a solid offensive line, especially the core, in that middle of that line. But I would definitely put some feelers out there for Smith just to see. Like I say, I don't really see him leaving Kansas City, but I would definitely jump into that fray and see what could get done. And then James Daniels, um, about to be former Pittsburgh Steeler. He's coming off injuries, coming off that Achilles. I don't really know how much a team is really going to try to, bring him in. And if that's the case, if he can't find a deal out there, if I'm the Steelers, I jump back on him and hopefully could get a good price for him and bring James Daniels back. Because I always thought, before his injury, he was their best lineman. So I would definitely look at, bringing him back in if you can, but I think he's going to be a little expensive also. But just like I said, coming off that Achilles injury, you never know, and teams might not want to really give him a deal, and he might have to take a kind of a prove it deal. So I would feel like if he has to go down that road, he maybe just want to do it with the team that he's with already. So you know, again, I would definitely look at it, but I could see the Steelers definitely going after these two guys if the price is right. And lastly, centers. I don't. Steelers would not be in this market at all for a center. I think McCollum. I think they'll bring him back. They'll re-sign him, and he was a solid backup. I thought you got Frazier, which I think is going to be one of the. I mean, I think right now he's one of the best young centers in the league, and hopefully he can keep developing. So I don't even see the Steelers being in this market for the centers. And like as you can see, the names is really not a great market for those guys anyway. But that's pretty much it as far as with the free agent offensive lineman. But what I do like is I think it's a few linemen that's in the draft that I can see the Steelers definitely drafting maybe two guys. I can see them drafting a guard, and I also see them drafting another tackle. I mean, you have to keep bringing those guys in. You got to, keep 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 that line young, fresh, getting bigger. And like I say, my only issue I have right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers when it comes to offensive line is I think they could actually do better um, getting the offensive line coach. I think the coaching has been lacking, and I think that's just an issue. But it seems like no change has happened as of now, so I don't really see the Steelers making a change. So I think what they have is what they have. They're gonna bring Pete Myers back, and they're gonna roll with that. So with that said, it's really at this point, it's no reason to keep whining about it and keep saying they need to do this, they need to hire this guy. I mean, it seems like they are pretty much satisfied where they're at. So we'll just see. We'll see if these guys can keep developing. And like I said, this is a very important year for Broderick Jones because me personally, I, I think he's on the verge of busting out. But I still think his talent there. I don't really think he's a bust, but again, I just think he needs to get better coaching or he will be a bust. But that's just my opinion, and I could be wrong. But that's kind of where I see the Steelers at right now as far as the offensive line and the free agent guys. Like I say, I really don't see them being a major player. It's just a couple of those guards that I could really see the Steelers, going after. But other than that, I think they're gonna kind of stay packed and maybe try to address some of the depth concerns in the draft. But with that said, I guess we're done. And next week on Monday, we'll start on the defensive free agencies, guys. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Take care.